Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon on this Saturday on what is a very emotional and sad weekend for the world of professional wrestling. On Thursday, the world lost a great father, brother, and husband, as well as an incredible creative and talented soul. It is with heavy hearts that we say goodbye to Bray Wyatt. We ask that you please join us in a moment of silence to honor the life of Bray Wyatt. Thank you. What's going on, everybody? Tyler Sumner, Sam Smith, Grant Flood here. And this isn't something that we would usually do if we were getting together. We would always be happy, go lucky, and talking about the bloodline or stuff like that. But that's not what we're here to do for today. As of yesterday, we were reported to, and the news broke from Triple H, Paul Levesque, CEO of WWE, that Wyndham Rotunda, aka Bray Wyatt, had passed away. And at the time that Triple H reported, we did not know what it was. And then Sean Rossap from FightfulSelect.com had reported that he had COVID that led to heart issues, and the heart issues led to a heart attack yesterday, which was fatal. And I'll admit it, I cried last night, and for me it's a little different because Bray Wyatt is my second favorite wrestler of all time behind The Undertaker. I've loved Bray. I've loved his creative mind. And for me personally, Bray showed that no matter who you are, what profession you do, it's okay to have a different mind and a creative mind. And for me personally, it's a very tough goodbye because he just returned last year, last September, last October, I believe. And he just had a baby girl too. And this one hurts, guys, a lot. And with that being said, I'm gonna pass it over to Sam Smith to give his thoughts.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was completely caught off guard by it. I kind of screamed, "What the f?" when I first saw the tweet from Triple H, and yeah, I cried too. It hurt. It still hurts. That was somebody. Bray or Wyndham was a guy that was one of the most brilliant creative masterminds this business has ever seen. The character work that he did with anything from the Eater of Worlds gimmick, the Wyatt family with Brody, Eric, and Braun later on, was top tier. The storyline with John Cena going into WrestleMania 30 was fantastic. And then you move on into his storyline with The Undertaker. He had that whole storyline. He carried it by himself because he wasn't there, because Taker wasn't there. He even trolled everybody. He fooled everyone. When the casket came out and then Bray revealed himself in the casket. Creative mastermind. And then going into the Fiend character, which in my opinion was one of the greatest characters in the history of the business, and it was too bad that it was fumbled badly. I was really excited when he came back last year at Extreme Rules, and it was a really awesome moment. And I'm going to share something. I don't really talk about this too often, but I happened to run into Bray too. He was in town for a house show a long time ago, and I was in a grocery store, and he was there. And I ran into him. I had like a minute conversation with him, and I don't really ever talk about this because it wasn't really a big deal at the time, but now I feel it's very appropriate. I said, "Oh my God, it's Bray Wyatt." He turned, he looked at me, and his smile could have lit up a room. He This one hurts. His positive look, his positive vibe on the world is something that won't be replicated. You see all the love on social media that he's getting from all of his colleagues, all of his people that he was around. Everybody loved him. And there's a reason why. He may have seemed like this dark, twisted, demented person on TV, but in reality, he's one of the nicest people in the world. I feel so bad for Bo Dallas, his brother, his father, his wife, JoJo, the former ring announcer, his kids, for everybody who's ever associated with. You have a minute conversation with him, and you know how much of a good guy he is. Man.
Grant, you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, wow, I can't even believe it myself, and it's definitely hard to process. Bray was one of my favorite wrestlers as well. It felt like, 10 years ago, Monday Night Raw 2013, Wyatt family made their debut. They attacked Kane, and I remember watching that moment like, who the heck are these guys? And then their storytelling was top notch. Bray Wyatt singing, "We've got the whole world in his hands." It's wow. And last night, I watched the promo after he defeated AJ Styles in Elimination Chamber to win the title. And when he said, "I finally have the whole world in my damn hands," that was powerful. And watching that promo just felt really powerful. And you know, I had a Wyatt family T-shirt growing up. One of my mother's favorite tag teams of all time. I would wear her shirt a lot. When I went to an in-house WWE show, I saw him do the creepy, walk while he's standing on his two
Oh, the
hands,
crab walk.
going backwards, the crab walk. I saw him do that live in person at a live event. That was incredible. I thought his entire feud with John Cena heading into WrestleMania 30 was unreal. Having the little children sing "World in My Hands" with, coming out with the sheep masks. Oh my God, what a powerful promo. And, when he won that title back in, I think it was 2017 or 2018, he deserved that title. Absolutely did. And when he came back as The Fiend, beat Seth Rollins, I was super proud of him.
Yeah.
Went on, had a great SummerSlam match against Braun Strowman. That was a great match to watch as well. Overall, a very powerful moment to the wrestling community. And, seeing all of these wrestlers, past and present, share their thoughts and condolences, it means a lot. And the most touching one I read was Alexa Bliss's post because she worked with him, during the COVID era. This is someone who was very close to Bray, and just reading her heartfelt message and then reading Braun's heartfelt message, those ones hurt a lot. Yesterday, the day of Bray's passing, it was the 7-year anniversary of Braun Strowman's main call debut. That, I think, struck me because, he pretty much wrote like, wow, if that was 7 years, we're going to go by so quickly, I would have never taken your friendship for granted. And that got me a little teary-eyed. Just overall, a very surprising moment. I feel bad for JoJo, Bo Dallas, his kids, two very young children. I don't know if they're going to have fond memories of him or not in the future, but they are going to go back, watch his matches, and they're going to realize how much of a hard worker and a dedicated wrestler that their father was to the industry and overall to one of the greatest minds and creations in WWE history. Rest in peace, because, wow, 36 years old is too young. No one should live that short.
Yeah, and I want to take it back here because Sam talked about his short story with Bray Wyatt. When I was growing up, I used to go to house shows and Raws and stuff like that at the Dunkin' Donut Center over in Providence, Rhode Island. And at a house show, the main event was The Shield versus Ryback, Undertaker, and Sheamus. Cena was supposed to be the third man, but Taker came out instead and surprised everybody. But that's not the moral of the story here. Before I went into the Civic Center that night for that house show, my very first house show of WWE, I was outside and I saw Bray Wyatt. And this was a lot at the time. A lot of people didn't know who he really was because he was just coming up from NXT. They were still trying to. It was shortly after the Wyatt family debuted. And I asked him, Bray, how do you feel about being on the main roster? How does all of this feel? He said, when you grow up in a family like mine, with the IRS as your dad and Bo Dallas as your brother, you love the family and you love this business. And that's what Bray Wyatt was all about, man. He was a family man. He was he was one of the few good souls that we have in this world. Pure good people. And for me, at least, this is the biggest loss I've suffered as a professional wrestling fan. I was only 2 years old when Eddie Guerrero passed away, and I did not watch wrestling yet. So I can't really attest to that. But man, this one really hurts. And I think what I want to do today is, we called this a Bray Wyatt tribute show. So I think I want to talk about all of our favorite Bray Wyatt moments. And really just pay homage to Bray, to the Fiend, to the Eater of Worlds, towards Wyndham Rotunda himself. So first and foremost, before we even do any of that, on behalf of Sam, Grant, and I, we simply want to say thank you, Bray. Thank you for the countless memories. Thank you for scaring me even when I was in high school with the Fiend, you know. Man, when he came on at like 10:30 at night and it was pitch black in your room and all you just heard was, "Let me in." You know, it just goes to show at any age, Bray Wyatt knew how to emotionally get to you. And one of those emotional things is the promo when he returned this time, his first promo back, where he was crying and talking about Brody Lee and how we never stopped believing in him and we wanted him back. And I'll say this, and usually on the Swiss Sports Show, I do not like to get into people in charge and stuff like that. But Vince McMahon, okay? And I think I speak for all of us here. Vince McMahon was wrong for getting rid of him the first time. And Vince McMahon was stupid for getting rid of him the first time. Now, I know in this sports broadcasting business, we have to watch what we say. But I'm saying that confidently because I think every single WWE fan knows that if Triple H was in charge when The Fiend was in his prime, Goldberg wouldn't have became Universal Champion. The Fiend still would have been Universal Champion. And I think we would have had a one-on-one Roman Reigns match between The Fiend and Roman Reigns. And
yep,
You're right.
It's sad, man, because I think we all knew too, if Bray was coming back, that The Fiend was coming back, because we heard the rumors and we heard from Sean Ross Sapp himself that if Bray Wyatt got cleared, The Fiend was making a return under Triple H's power. And it sucks, man, because we've wanted to see The Fiend back for so long, because as much as everybody wanted it to be Cody, I truthfully wanted it to be Bray. I think the story should have ended where it started. I think the reign should have ended where it started. And this one hurts a lot, man. And I'm trying not to get emotional about it, but it hurts a lot because, like you said, Sam, so beautifully, he just had a smile that lit up a room. Even that sadistic smile he'd do in the Firefly Funhouse still lit up a room, because you can tell like he was genuinely happy with what he was doing.
Yeah.
And I want to, Sam, if you want to go ahead and explain your favorite memory first while I pull up a tweet from The Rock here, who put it so beautifully.
Yeah, my favorite moment with Bray. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I could just name one from every gimmick. I mean, the Eater of Worlds, him winning the world title at Elimination Chamber. That was a great moment. Because I think Bray was was way more than deserving of winning that championship. He absolutely 100% deserved it. It was long overdue, and I could go into the Fiend, just the SummerSlam entrance. The first time we saw him against Finn, man, I had goosebumps from seeing that entrance for the first time. I was completely stunned at what I was watching, and then the return at Extreme Rules, like I mentioned earlier, was amazing, perfectly executed. I could say so much. I mean, some of my favorite matches of him.
We'll get into that in a few, but if I may just read this this tweet real quick from The Rock about Bray Wyatt passing. The Rock wrote it beautifully, and it's one of my favorites that was put out yesterday about Bray. I'm heartbroken over the news of Bray Wyatt's passing. Always had a tremendous respect and love for him and the Rotunda family. Loved his presence, promos, in-ring work, and connection with the WWE Universe. Very unique, cool, and rare character, which is hard to create in our crazy world of pro wrestling. Still processing losing the greatest of all time, Terry Funk, yesterday, and now Bray Wyatt today. My love, light, strength, and mana to the Rotunda family and Funk family during this heartbreaking time. And as always, thank you for the house. And most people don't remember this, but The Rock did beat Eric Rowan in a squash match at WrestleMania 32. But it was not the match that you remember of that. It's the promo battle between The Rock and Bray Wyatt during that. The in-ring psychology. And that's one thing I want to get into here is the promos and the in-ring psychology. And Bray can do it all, man. And there's something he said in the Firefly Funhouse match. And as much as everybody loves John Cena, Bray Wyatt nailed it on the head. John Cena said, "I'm tired of giving everybody chances." Bray Wyatt picked up the mic and he said, "John Cena wants to talk about chances. You take more chances away from every star in this business, every rising star in this business." And I think Bray Wyatt was 100% right there. You know? And Cena said, the promo before the Firefly Funhouse, Sam, you remember it too. Cena said, at WrestleMania, I end 6 years of torture, and I end the most overhyped, overprivileged wrestler this company has ever seen. And honestly, that was far from the truth about Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was one of the most underrated, underappreciated, and creative minds this business has ever seen. And it's
I can tell that was a Vince promo.
Absolutely. And I think it's hard to really find words because it's still a shock factor, you know? And I think one thing that I want to say about my favorite Bray Wyatt memory, I have two. One of my favorite matches is the Wyatt family versus the Shield at Elimination Chamber 2014. Yeah. That should have been the main event of that pay-per-view. It really should have.
I watched that match for the first time last year. I had never seen that match for the first time.
I recommended that match to Sam, and I mean, just overall, I mean, what a match it was. And
20 minutes of chaos is what it was. It was absolutely crazy. Great. It was a fantastic match. Probably one of Bray's most underrated matches he's ever had in the company.
And I think my favorite storyline of Bray Wyatt to be fully truthful, was the WrestleMania 33 storyline against Randy Orton. Leading all up to that, the destruction of the Wyatt family, the burning of Sister Abigail.
That was so cool.
That was
And
a great
honestly,
moment when Orton does this little pose outside the burning house. That was a great moment.
and our good friend Santi over at Straight Shoot, he said that he thinks instead of the crappy WrestleMania match that The Fiend and Randy Orton had, it should have been a Firefly Funhouse match because those two had more of a story. And I look at this and I agree with Santi. I think the Firefly Funhouse match is one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, in my opinion. Not for wrestling, but for storytelling.
Absolutely.
And all of that. It's definitely one of my favorite WrestleMania matches. And I'm not talking about in-ring work. I'm talking about overall enjoyment of a match, overall, like, keeping the viewers. Because every time Bray Wyatt was on TV, we were intrigued.
Yeah,
Even if he wasn't wrestling, his promos intrigued you. And I think now looking back on it, one of the most emotional moments I've witnessed as a wrestling fan, and one of the most wholesome moments that I've seen, is when The Undertaker returned on Raw 30 and passed the torch to Bray Wyatt.
Yep.
Right on the money.
Now, my all-time favorite Fiend match?
There's not many to choose from.
The strap match between him and Daniel Bryan.
That was a pretty good match. I remember that match being pretty good. I remember the storyline was interesting going into that match because,
Yeah, Bray dragged him under the ring, pulled out his hair, and then he correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he also stab his own hand to sign the contract in blood as the Fiend?
I believe so. I might be thinking of a
I
different
remember
stuff.
something like that happening. So that you're probably not that far off. I don't remember if that's exactly what happened, but yeah.
So now I go to Grant Flood here, and Grant, I want you to talk about a little bit what your favorite Bray Wyatt match is, your favorite memory of Bray Wyatt, and
One of my favorite matches was actually his steel cage match against Chris Jericho. That was a good match. Very underrated, not talked about enough, I felt. My favorite, I guess, Wyatt family match would have been the 2014 Survivor Series match against The Shield because, oh my God, that was one of those matches where, we talk about the Daniel Bryan feud, and that's something, I never really went back to after it happened live, really. So my memory's a little bit foggy about that rivalry, but definitely that rivalry against The Shield is something that's stuck. And I remember watching that match for the first time. It was always a dream match. The three most dominant three-man tag team matches of the era. It was always a dream match. And the fact that they literally tore the house down during that 20-minute affair, I mean, it was crazy. And being able to rewatch it with Sam and a couple other friends of ours for the first time since that match occurred live, I mean, I was truly jaw-dropped of how great of a match it was. I thought his match, though unfortunately resulted in losses, Mania matches against Undertaker and Cena were great. Big fan of his rivalry against Randy Orton, and again, I really like the SummerSlam 2020 match against Braun Strowman. So it's just some of my overall favorite matches. And then again, promo work, just that entire segment leading up to his match against Cena at WrestleMania 30, just all of it fantastic.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. I mean,
so with that being said, guys, I think we're gonna wrap this up. I think because, like we said, we're not gonna hold you guys super long like we usually do. We're just gonna give our thoughts, talk a little bit about Bray Wyatt. And with that being said, make sure you guys watch SmackDown tonight. I'm hearing it will be a tribute show for Bray Wyatt.
as it should.
And with all due respect, nothing taken away from the Bloodline storyline, but I think at this point, everybody could give everybody could give two craps right now
I
about
mean, it's
the
Bray's
Bloodline
time.
storyline.
You gotta give respect to Bray
I,
at the
I
moment.
I think we all just want a tribute show to Bray. I think
Yep. They
you
can get
know
back to their storylines on Monday. I
yeah,
think
but exactly.
I think
And
it's still a little too soon to have a full-on show. I don't expect there to be a crowd tonight in at SmackDown. I don't expect there to be anything really. I expect it to just be like what we saw. Now, I'm not comparing obviously, but like the Chris Benoit tribute show before we all knew what everything happened. No crowd. The only person that's in the ring is Vince, and he's talking, and then they have the pre-taped stuff without all the
Won't be
rest of us
surprised
talking.
if Triple H is
I
the
expect
one.
it to be the same kind of thing. I'm not saying that we should be comparing the deaths of Benoit and Bray. I mean, there's obviously
absolutely.
many different things that obviously happened, but I expect it to be like the same kind of setting. Um, I wouldn't expect there to be any wrestling tonight. How could anybody wrestle tonight after what happened? I know AEW taped Rampage on Wednesday, so that is not that they're not gonna they're gonna air it, and it's gonna be wrestling for an hour. I know that's gonna happen, but I know AEW posted something about Bray sending their wishes and stuff like that, which is really nice of them, by the way. Kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't expect there to be any matches on SmackDown tonight. I'd be shocked if there was. And if they do end up having a full-on show tonight, what I expect is a lot of people wearing Bray Wyatt's merch out to the ring, a lot of people having a 10-bell salute, and having everybody at the end of the 10-bell salute hold up lanterns and blow it out as a way to
Yeah.
pay respect.
I think another thing that we should do tonight too, that they should do tonight too, is bring Uncle Howdy out to the ring and have him unmask and reveal that it's Bo Dallas. But when Uncle Howdy comes out, have him bring Bray's coat, bring Bray's lantern, have Uncle Howdy unmask, and then have the lantern go out as like the final goodbye.
That would be really cool. I think that'd be a really great
Really
send-off.
cool.
And I think they should also leave room for the crowd to cheer and chant, "Thank you, Bray," and like cheer for Bo and the family, because I think Bo's gonna need that, because that's his brother. Not a lot of people know that they're brothers. That's like not a really common thing talked about, which is why I said from the very beginning during that Uncle Howdy character, that's Bo Dallas.
Yep.
That has to be. So I think it will be perfect. I think you nailed it with that. I hope they do the 10-bell salute and the lanterns and everybody holding up the lanterns and blowing it all out at once. And I hope at the end they have just Bray's stuff in the ring and the lantern is either on and just like there is the only thing that's only light in the building, or he blows it out as the show fades to black. I think that's what they have to do tonight.
So with that being said, guys, from Sam, Grant, and Tyler, rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. You will be dearly missed. We love you, and thank you for everything.
Love you, Hoot.
He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand.